little afraid of him this morning. Do you want to go first?
Well, listen.
Can you tell us how to stop going crazy?
Well, that's the whole teachings, right? Yeah. That's the whole point. You're even asking. You're even asking. That's the best question ever. And you're asking it. Way to go. Phew.
All right. So, great question. What's the answer? Let's dive into it a little bit. Okay. Because this concept of life as a movie is an interesting one. Because if you think about it, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of movies these days. But I remember back in the day, so I don't know what it's like to go to a movie. But back in the day, when you would look at the movie, I haven't done this recently, is if you looked back, if you turn away from the screen and you look at the projector, there used to be, I would imagine maybe digital, it's different, but there used to be a big camera or projector, right? And one beam of light was coming from the projector. And then when you turned around and looked at the screen, that one beam of white light contained all the characters and all the colors. And even everything that the actors and everybody who worked on the movie did was up on that screen. But if you turned around, it was just from one white light. Mm. And so it's pretty, if you think about it, it's just a perfect, exact metaphor for our life, for life on the planet right now. And there's probably a lot of people in this room, because we're just, 100 miles south of Los Angeles. Probably a lot of us had something to do with the acting business, right? So I used to, that's where I got my start. I was too bored in school, so I went right out and did some performing and ended up in LA and did some film and TV. And the thing that's really interesting is that when you're going to, it is a little scary to play a part, either in the theater or in TV, because you really have to get into the head and the emotions of the person you're playing. If you don't, you're not acting, you're going through the motions, right? You really have to feel, why would they say this? What was their background? You have to give them a history and all that sort of thing. And that's why I can see why it'd be really easy for actors to kind of tilt, because you have to open yourself up. One of the first things you do in acting class is you get outside of your boundaries. They make you do things you're really uncomfortable with, because your character you might need to do that in character. So if you think about that, and then how the character comes off, they call it good acting or bad acting. So if you think about it, right, all of us as souls, before we came down to this planet, we met with the divine director and the stage producer and the costumer, okay, you're going to be Asian in this lifetime, or you're going to be Native American, or you're going to be Caucasian, or you're going to be African American, or what's your costume, what's your role? And then you look at it and you go, okay, where's your location? Which part of the stage you're going to be on? And we all say, yes, let's do it. We agree to this part we're going to play. But the thing is, when we come down to the difference is when you come down onto the planet and you take your first breath and you wake up and you're in costume. You don't get out of costume for a number of years. You stay in the costume. You stay in the character. And so we forget that we've each come down with an assignment, that in part of this movie, we have a particular role to play. No one else is going to play that role. You don't want your stand-in to do it for you. You want you to do it. So this time on the planet right now is really saying, remember the role that you came to play. Do what you can do. Remember. Now, the only way, that's what the director's for. Because when an actor sort of loses her way, or her performance is sort of out of sync with the rest of the actors, the director that's one of the director's jobs, is to come in and get the whole ensemble working together. So that's what meditation's about. It's sitting down with a director. How am I doing? What am I not seeing? And this part in this play that I'm doing right now hurts. I'm And the director will say, well, you're taking it a little too seriously and you haven't listened to my direction. And that's, I really want to encourage us right now. There's a lot of people going through physical challenges. You know, the costume is poking. It's not comfortable. It's too small, it's too big, it's falling apart, whatever it is. The greatest thing we can do to be divine actors, to get the Oscar at the end of this play or show, it had to be a movie, right? To get an Oscar, you get a Grammy for TV. In order to do it, here's what I've been doing, and see if it works for you. What is the highest consciousness I can have in this moment? So if the body's hurting, or the emotions are flaring up, which we've been talking about it, emotions are flaring up these days, they're meant to, don't identify with them. Just like, you know, what's the name of the actor that played the Joker in the recent Batman? Heath Ledger, right? They say he was such a, I can't watch that show. Tom watched it recently and
10 times. No, I'm just kidding.
He got so into his character again. I mean, it was such a dark character that he couldn't shake the energy after it was over, and it was part of his challenge. He got so into that mindset. What did he do to get into that mindset? He had to get into the thought current of that kind of negativity. Be careful of the thought currents you are exposing yourself to these days. Be careful. There is a mass hypnosis going on because the darkness is seeing, and I'm not talking about conspiracy theories and all this sort of thing. I'm talking that right now the light is about, everybody who's of the light, they're about to just jettison. You know, those of us who are old enough to remember I guess the Star Wars movie did that too. It was called Warp Speed, and there was nothing but light behind, right? The thing took off and you could just see light. And it went warp speed. Hang in there. Try to get the highest consciousness you can at that moment, because realize in a matter of a very short period of time, the button's going to be hit. We're going to be in warp speed. So in order for us not to do that, right, in Star Trek. Oh, they start.
They did in Star Wars too.
Yeah? Okay. Good. So there's always the bad guy, right? The evil empire, or whatever it is, coming after the Klingons. Yes, thank you. We're coming after. So they had to, well, the Klingons are after each and every one of us to keep us from going into warp speed. All we have to do in this moment, what's the highest state of consciousness I can be in this moment? Because I know there are people who have been going, this is review, and we're saying, when's it gonna be over? Let's call cut already. Let's get this film and move on to the next scene. But if we haven't moved on to the next scene, that means that this one still has a lesson for us. Dig in, kids. Dig in. Go to the divine director. Take a break when you can. And by the way, right now, have you noticed your bodies need a little bit more rest? Yeah. Have you noticed? Give your bodies the rest that they need. You're not being lazy. You're not being lazy. That energy is really hard on the body because the body's trying to take in all the light that's coming. So if you attune your mental body away from what everybody else is doing, focus on the light, focus on whatever inspires you, focus on your creativity, focus on your role. Why are you here? And don't let anybody tell you different, because remember, you're the plant, you're the one that's in the circle, so that people have someone to look to and say, oh, that's the alternative. Get away from the mass hypnosis, tune into the light. And remember, if you don't know anything about light, turn back and see. It all comes from the white light. Use the white light. Wield it. Wield it. And I had an experience. Sometimes we have family up in LA, and so my daughter's birthday was Thursday, and she lives in LA. Talk about movies, right? She's a stunt woman. So so I took the train up on Thursday afternoon, came back on Friday. Now normally, train is great because you don't have to drive and you can work or meditate or relax or whatever. But I noticed that I'm very spongy when it comes to energy. So sometimes after I get off the train, I'm depleted. So I have to be really careful of crowds. So this time I thought, okay, it's up to me. So I sat in the morning, on Thursday morning at the end of my meditation, and I sent light to every car, to every train. I made sure before I sat down and when I sat down, I released the pheromones from the people who sat down, everybody else who had been in that seat and the seat next to me. I worked the light so that I drew the right people to sit next to me, so that it would, be of an, similar vibration, not something that was going to drain. I worked the whole thing on Thursday morning before I went, and on Friday morning before I came back, and I came back sailing. It's the first time I came back sailing. I was right place at the right time in the right seat, and I was so grateful that I went through that. Try it. Try it. Protect your auric field with the light. Protect your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is going to take those negative thoughts from people. It's going to, that's the subconscious mind. When you watch, movies are great. They are good movies are great. Bad movies are horrific. We've got to have discrimination. And bad movies are going to go into our subconscious mind. Remember, when you see a movie or a television show, it makes an impression. The conscious mind, we have discrimination. We can say, okay, well, this is true. The subconscious mind is an order taker. It has, you sit in a restaurant and you make an order. The waiter or waitress the server may make a suggestion, but only if you ask them, right? This is what I want. This is what you get. The subconscious mind is like that. You put information in that subconscious mind and it is there. It doesn't discriminate. So, we're coming up to Halloween, and Halloween is great because it helps us to realize that even the darkness is part of the play. Darkness is part of the show. But the subconscious mind doesn't have any discrimination, and it will come back and influence your conscious mind when you least expect it. Now, more than any other time, be careful what you put into your subconscious mind. It could, at the wrong time, come up and make you vulnerable. It doesn't matter what anybody else watches. People might have different tolerances than you. Tom and I find that. He has way different tolerances than I do. I'm much more sensitive. And I used to watch certain things with him. I can't anymore. My sensitivity increased. No. Well, he likes action. He likes those kind of movies where you sit there the whole time like this.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. What? The sports the other time, thank you. But I want to tell you, I like to tell this story at Halloween because we're coming up to Halloween. But remember this at Halloween, okay? Because everything does originate in the light. There's no duality without the light. So when you see something scary in your light, look for the light, the consciousness behind it. Be that sleuth that can find it. So when my girls I have two girls, and their mamas now, but when they were little, I used to do some performing at the Halloween show at the international headquarters of SRF at Mother Center. So in other words, they used to have this big deal. 8,000 people used to come up there, and we did this show. Well, one of the little side shows, and Tom was also, the monks did one side, the nuns and the female lay disciples did the other side. Sending light to the eye break for sirens because they need our consciousness. And there's more and more of them, have you noticed?
Yeah.
So, blessing the responders and the people who need it. So then but the nuns, we had some really, really funny nuns. Honest to goodness, really funny stand-up comedian nuns. And when you're a nun, you don't get to play with that very often. So at Halloween, they would be witches. And we had this little section where some of them were also musicians. There was this section where the nuns would dress up as these really weird looking witches, with the teeth missing and everything. And people would walk up and they would just get to do their shtick. A year pent up of stuff came out on Halloween, and they were a riot. They were a riot. And to know that they were nuns on top of it was even more funny. It's like, really? You've had that in your head that whole time. So for a couple of years then, we moved from Mount Washington to Florida for a couple of years. We ended up coming back, but we moved, and so Serena, my youngest, was in preschool. She was 3 at the time, and they were talking about Halloween. Halloween was coming up, and the teacher was trying to talk to them about costumes and not being scared. And Serena stood up, 3 years old, and she said, "There is nothing to be afraid of." She said, "Witches are only nuns dressed up in costumes." Isn't that hysterical? So I went to pick her up, and the teacher said, "Why did she say that?" But she wasn't afraid of witches. She knows they're nuns. So when you see a goblin, right, think of it as God dressed up in costumes this week.
So Serena's husband is the guy behind the camera right there. And
Hey, Ron.
so Ron, go ahead and tell her we talked about her this morning. Okay. Made the morning, really. Yeah, that was the nun side. So we're up at the international headquarters of Self-Realization Fellowship. That's big headquarters, international world. And it's a big mansion on top of a hill looking down over the city of Los Angeles. Gorgeous property, as all of Yogananda's properties just were so gorgeous because he's so gorgeous. Because his conscience is so gorgeous, and everyone that hangs out with him is in that beautify, keep it gorgeous, because beauty is God. And you'll ever want to know why we named our yoga training program Sundara. Sundara means unspeakable, magnificent beauty of the soul. Right? So everything in this universe is wanting to beautify, to beautify, to beautify. Anyway, while the nuns were doing their thing, the monks got to do their thing right when the people came in. We had 5,000 people waiting at the front gate of the international headquarters, all the neighbors, and then the word got out so people would come and travel just to come to this Halloween place at this weird spiritual place,
They actually had to close it because too many people started coming. It was the thing to do.
But Yogananda, he had little Halloweens when he was in the body up there. He would dress up. And he'd do tricks on the monks and the nuns. Crazy stuff, He was playful. He was a soul. He was an inner child divine avatar. So my good fortune is, because my mom, my physical mom, she's a wannabe actress, and I guess I have a little bit of that in my bones, in my blood. So whenever there was a chance to have a skit, and we had monks that had a lot of skits because we had to get that stuff that was pent up out, right? I'm in. Whether you ever want to do any kind of skit, I'm in. Whether the planning part or acting a bit part, didn't matter, because it's just nice to let the creative juices flow in acting, right? Or anything like that, or music, whatever. It's good. It's good till you kind of alchemize your energy from being stuck and taking the drama too seriously, and you get to kind of vent it and move it out and realize, oh man, it's just acting is fun. Life can be fun if you know you're just an actress playing your divine part, right? Playing the good part, playing the hero, and then eventually playing the soul. But I got to direct three shows. The monks went to no lengths to put on the scariest show.
Any length.
Any lengths. To put on the best show. Scary show. Because the big mansion-type lawn, we'd make our props, and we would make our own costumes, and we would write our own script. We would do our own soundtrack and our own voiceover on the thing and the whole thing. It was such a blast. That would take us to make a new show about 10 months, so we got to have that creative outlet for about 10 months before the show. I got to do, and we ran them 3 years. So for 9 years, I was the Halloween director for the Monk Scary Show. And it was everything that happens in our lives, God gives you what you need, right? The fun thing about life today and spirituality today is you can be yourself. That's the only way Spirit wants to have a relationship with you. Be yourself. Not maybe necessarily what your religion tells you how you need to be, or anyone else, or even, please don't get me wrong, even your divine teachers and guides. Because they aren't telling you to be or do anything. They are telling you to look in the mirror of your soul and see who you are. And from there, to carve out, so to speak, or to start to play act, so to speak, your divinity in a way that's absolutely no one else has ever played that divinity part the way that you can play it. That's what the holy ones and the great teachings are teaching us to be, is to be ourselves. So there's no reason now to fear getting close to the divine. There's no reason to be, because the divine doesn't have messages waiting in your inbox or whatever on your cell phones saying that you need to do this or you have to do that or it should be this way or that way. Not so. Ever has it been that. But I think now the consciousness on the planet is a little more open to, wow, I can approach divinity. I can approach acting the part of a divine being even when I'm in my human stuff. I can play act that because I do believe and trust and have faith that I'm this divine being, not this, what if God was a slob just like one of us? Isn't there a song, something like that? Yeah. Yeah, in our human suits and playing whatever roles, it seems like God's quite a slob, right? And we just don't get it. It's Groundhog Day, right? Over and over again. Regardless, you are an immortal. And waking up means that we just start to realize, okay, I can be my human self right now with God, my best friend, and create a personal relationship with that source. Personal relationship. It goes so far as to say that the yogis, and I'm using Yogananda as an exemplar in my little mind and my example of a yogi, he said that there's a personal element in your search for source, for God, for truth, for nirvana, for enlightenment, satori, whatever, freedom. There's a personal element in this search that is more important than mastery over the whole science of yoga. Meaning, if we're not careful, we can think that we know something. We can think that we're good. Or, in most cases, think that we're bad. And that's probably more common than thinking you're good, is thinking you're bad. Both aren't very good, either way. Because you're neither good nor bad, as Shakespeare said, but thinking makes it so. Right? There's no good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Rumi will say, hey, beyond good and bad, right and wrong, there's a field. Come and join me there. Let's have some fun. Let's play in the light together. Let's create a whole new world, if you want to, because the light is so creative. Let's create our new world, you and I. See the possibilities? How magnificent this creation can be if we want to play and yield, as Trish said, with the light. But the point I want to make is that we don't have to buy into the good or bad part that we're playing. We can rectify, or I'm saying lately, reboot our consciousness. Reboot it. Maybe with this in mind, that there might be, my friend and my friends, a better way to look at life. Maybe. I don't know. You might not think so. You might not choose to. But you think there's that possibility? No one's saying yes. Do you think that there is a possibility to look at life differently than the way you're looking at it? Good. Step one of AA. And that's a really important step. In fact, the first 3 steps are really important, whether it's addicted to alcohol or addicted to negative views or addicted to whatever else. You've got to admit that I need help. I could use some assistance here in reframing this scene I'm in. Seeing this person as the witch and forgetting that she's really a nun. I'm not referring, or seeing someone as, Darth Vader versus seeing him as a monk.
Did I miss something?
Or you know what I'm saying, that we get some instruction in reframing our consciousness. You want to know what immersion love is, because we have another one coming up. It's a reboot of your consciousness, reframing it according to these eternal promises called truth that are made so accessible to you. Any one of them, I think, are the most amazing, not even a principle, truths that are eternal promises from God, divine source, to you, writing constant love letters to you. God, divine source, is a stalker. Is called, as Francis Thompson wrote in a little book, the Hound of Heaven. Source is a hound of heaven that is pursuing you down the labyrinthian ways of your own mind through ceaseless Groundhog Day incarnations, sending you love letters and text messages unceasingly to get your attention, to say there's nothing to fear. I just want to have a relationship with you. That's all. The director just wants to say, listen, there's a big divine plan here, and I'm directing the whole thing, and you're involved in your little skit here, and you're messing the heck up your little skit. And that little skit affects the big divine plan, and you have no idea, in missing the point of a lifetime, how you mess up the whole divine plan. So the director wants to say, hey, any way it can get your attention. Any way it can get your attention, to say, hey, you might just possibly be overacting. You don't need to overact. Take a breath. Breathe. All right? Here is one great practical practice. Because if the lover, divine beloved, is trying to get our attention because it's just got all the answers, you say, how do we do this? Hello. Perfect GPS, God's perfect system, is within inside you, dear. But you can only perceive it if you want to plug in the coordinates and say, I think I know where I'm going. Otherwise, the GPS systems that we have in our car won't mean anything, right? She'll say, where do you want to go? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, can you give me a vicinity? Can you give me a state? Somewhere in North America, maybe? That would help. We could start to narrow it down. But please tell me, where do you want to go in life? Hello, choice. Chocolate or vanilla? Do you realize that every moment is like chocolate or vanilla? You know? Or now there's 31 flavors. So it's like, oh, God. Let me digress for a moment. The reason why I'm so into action movies is because as a monk for 25 years, well, when we started, there was the big reels. We as monks only got to see one movie a month. But that was every 2 months in my initial years, because we had to let the nuns choose one for a month. And then we choose one for a month.
That was bad.
So, right, exactly. I've told this before. So when the nuns chose their movie, it was always like My Friend Flicka or Bambi or something. And so our choice, really, we didn't count it as a choice, but we would rather watch anything moving on a screen than not to see something, so we would watch it. However, when it was our turn, we got to choose our action movie. And then I had to watch that. So now, as you know, 25 years cooped up. I'm pretty cool, because I managed to be myself with God in the ashram. That's why I can still be myself when I came out. Some of my brothers are having a hell of a tough time out here because they forgot to be themselves and playing this part of being a monk. And being good. And doing things because it might be good standing to the authorities, to the ones in charge. I was constantly in trouble, but I would take that any day over trying to pretend to be something I'm not. So I come out, and now we have our little community, which I love. I still love the fact that it's so informal. I still love the fact that the structure is really, we don't concentrate that much on structure, although we are going to do that, because structure brings freedom once you have it, but more on the love and the acceptance and just seeing each other as we really are. But it's so beautiful when you can just be yourself and playing the part that you're playing, at the same time taking some pauses to tune in to what the divine director, that could be called your higher self, it could be called the still small voice within you. So that car out there that you brought, that you came in, I call it a soul-mobile. A soul-mobile. In the old days, in Gita, it's the chariot. It's the chariot, right? With the 5 horses, meaning the 5 senses. And you're in this chariot, which represents your body. And you have a driver. And then in the Gita, Krishna is guiding the driver. So that driver of your car there, you can choose. You can step in when you open your door when you leave here as ego or as soul. If you choose ego, you'll probably, I hope not, playing with your darn phones, right? And probably listening to music or turning a ball game on. And we all do that, right? So that time in your car is pretty much wasted. Wasted. There's a lot of time we spend in cars. Be an interesting stat to find out about how long, average, in a car. Or you could choose to be a soul in your soulmobile. This is your chariot. This is your car. And you can step in as a soul, which you hire as a designated driver of the car of your life. And you put someone like Krishna or Christ or Buddha or Divine Mother in the back seat as the one who's guiding you in the chariot of your soulmobile. And you put your hands on the steering wheel, you the soul, and your only objective now, this could be a practice, a real practical practice, is to use your driving as quiet time to pay attention to the still small voice of the divine talking through the Krishna Christ consciousness, through your consciousness as best as it can get through, if it can get through, and giving you a message of the direction for that day or for the next so-called thing you're going to. Wow. And you practice being still and quiet and saying to God, speak, Lord, for your servant heareth. Do you know how few people on the planet say that prayer? I don't want to know. Speak, no, because of the old religious stuff that we have going on. Good. Make me do something, that's a commandment. Shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. But the voice now is nothing like you ever could to dream about. It's always been. It's a voice of love. It's a voice of peace. It's a voice of best friend. It's a voice of, wow, I totally get that you're going through this now. Come on, let's talk about it. Would you please share it with me? The director's saying, share it with me. I design you to communicate with me uninterruptedly. I design you because you are me. Really? The stalker is stalking the same thing. God is stalking God. It's just that we are sleeping gods. Okay, I'm going to end with these thoughts. A couple of weeks ago, I brought up this book called Jesus Calling, which is an intimate personal relationship that this beautiful, open, very weak, vulnerable soul had with the divine. And these were the messages that the divine gave to her. And it makes it very personal. Now remember, there's a personal element in your search for truth, greater than mastery over anything that you think you can do, over the whole science of yoga.
Not all those, right?
No, 2 of these. When you shut out the world, now this is your higher self talking, and you guys, if you want to put a practice into place today when you get in your car, just be still, quiet, intuitive, receptive, and listen. Just in case your part can improve in life, that's all. Just improve. Just make you a little happier, that's all. You might get it. You might get a message if you can just be still enough. When you shut out the world and focus on my presence, you can enjoy sitting with me in heavenly realms. This is an incredible privilege reserved for precious ones who belong to me and seek to see my face. Your greatest strength is your desire to spend time communing with me. Your greatest strength is in your desire to spend time communing with the director of everything that is. As you concentrate on me, my spirit fills your mind with life and peace. Just having the desire to concentrate on tuning in, right? Stay in continual communication with me whenever you walk through the wastelands of this world. Refuse to worry. Refuse to worry, because this form of worldliness will weigh you down and block awareness of my presence. Stay alert. And finally, wait quietly in my presence. This drive, your next drive in your soulmobile, can be that little period of waiting quietly in this divine, loving, eternal, immortal, omnipresent, loving presence so that my thoughts, says the divine, form silently in the depths of your being. Wait quietly in my presence while my thoughts form silently in the depths of your being. Do not try to rush the process, because hurry keeps your heart earthbound. So we talked about worry and hurry, right? Not good things. I am the creator of the entire universe, yet I choose to make my humble home in your heart. It's there where you will know me most intimately. This is one of our practices in immersion in love, the heart. It is in the heart where you will know me most intimately. Now, this is the divine talking to you. It is there where I will speak to you in holy whispers. Ask my spirit to quiet your mind so that you can hear my still, small voice within you. I am speaking to you continually. Imagine God is talking to you and me continually. Words of life, peace, and love. Tune your heart to receive these messages of abundant blessings. Lay your requests before me and wait in expectation. Namaste.